Clark, what kind of processor do you got? What did you get in the mail?
So I'm not even hungry, so maybe I just nibbled on a little piece of cheese I had in the...
Where'd he go?
Apparently, like, you can't hear me because I've asked you, like, twice now. I'm going to ask the third time. What processor did you get in the mail? This is W2BTK.
Boy, pissy, aren't we? I just got back from the kitchen trying to refill a glass here. Easy there, Tiger. Say, it's an W200.
A B&W 200? I don't know that one.
No, Sierra Whiskey 200. That's a shortwave 200.
Is that the Glockenspiel or the Glockwood or whatever?
Glockenspiel, yes.
How do you like it? Because that was one of the processors that really kind of interested me. Like, I would like to try one of those.
Well, I haven't had time to do anything with it. Today's been busy, but I'm going to, holy cow. Lightning must be getting close, because, the 10-meter rig is going nuts now. Sideband rig. Yeah, it looks interesting. I mean, Jim Wood is I have a lot of respect for him and Innovonics. You know, I've always been a fan of that company, so it will be very interesting to check it out. And you know what? And the funny thing is, I did read through the manual for it, and some of the things that he wrote, it was amazing. It was like as if I wrote it. I'm like, holy cow, this guy and I could totally do beers. I mean, we write around so much stuff. Even the way he writes certain things. I'd love to talk to him someday. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to checking it out. And one BCG.
WA1STH, recliner remote.
Well, good evening.
Yeah, hey, Steve. Oh, wait, is he talking?
Was that another double?
First one of the night.
Steve, you're up and down like James Brown with this noise.
Really? You have a decent signal here.
You're kind of weak here, too, Steve.
Well, the lightning is really starting to kick into overdrive.
Yeah, I think my aunt's offline. I gotta go check it out. I'll be back.
Connor said he's going to try to get on, and he got a new amplifier. He picked himself up a Heath kit, SB220, but it doesn't work. So he's going to be fiddling with that. But I would expect that we might hear Connor trying to come in here any minute.
Didn't he have an amp, and wasn't he sending it out?
You got to ask him.
Oh, I don't know if you knew the story. I mean, you know that he's getting a new amplifier, or he has one or whatever, but I thought he had an amp and then something happened. He was going to send it out, but he didn't send it out, and now all of a sudden he's getting a new amplifier. So there's a whole bunch of pieces missing from the story.
He said that the SB220 was given to him, so that's cool. He's got another amplifier.
We should hook them up together. Can you imagine that? You just add the output watts together, and you'd be worldwide.
Yeah, Connor's got an AL80B like I do. I don't know what to do, but yeah, that was the story I heard. He was waiting to get money to send it off.
Think it's. You think it's time to turn the amp on yet, Clark?
I'm hearing you fine.
Oh, okay, good. Connor said that I'm piss weak at his station.
Good, turn the amp on. W2E and what?
Turn the amp on.
Alright, who's turning their amplifier on?
Hello. Hello. Hello.
I'm not turning my amp on. Clark hears me fine. I just had to go plug in my desk.
Yeah, I hear you good down in Southern Maryland as well. But Brian must have gone. I was talking to him on my way home here, and he said he was going to go in the house and get set up. I wonder if the wife could at least hit him up with some honey-do list stuff.
WA1STH, I'm sure that's more betterer.
What?
It's all fine business.
Yeah, I'm sure you can hear me now. The amp's on.
Yeah, it's not funny even until the PC shows up.
Anyways, WA1STH, recliner remote.
Well, I'm going to go get some dinner. W2BTK.
What's on the menu for tonight?
Yeah, I got the wife's cooking stuff peppers tonight, and for the rain monsoons come in. Man, we got hit last night with rain here. Holy crap!
I was just going to go grab some cold pizza out of the refrigerator, and yeah, that's grabbing dinner. It takes about 15 seconds.
Yeah, but what's on that pizza? Cold pizza is always just as good as warm pizza, if not better in some cases, but it depends on what's on it.
There's nothing on it. It's plain pizza. You know all these like white people this, white people that posts on Facebook? Well, yeah, I'm white. I got plain pizza.
Oh, I don't know. I'm white and I love everything on it. Hey, I like pizza with so much stuff on it. Like the cheese is necessary to hold it all in place. Everything. Well, not anchovy. I don't go nuts with that. Everything. Love it all. Hell, I'll even eat salad pizza. Oh, it's not very manly. Although, if someone wants to do like a meat lover's pizza, now we're talking. So yeah, do the ground beef, the pepperoni, the sausage, bacon. I know it's a heart attack pizza, but you can add things like olives. That's good. That's healthy. Tomato. Although I think that's kind of standard. You know, even onions. I know, well, people are making faces. I don't mind chopped onions on pizza. Come on, everything. Make it like an omelet pizza. That would be great.
Hey, Clark, you're sounding good tonight.
Well, thank you. Thank you. You're the second person to say that. Appreciate it.
I always like to have that, too.
Family hates it. Hey, you know what? If I'm in the mood for a jump by, I'm gonna so I'll get them regular.
Yeah, well, if anyone has me order pizza for everyone, that's great, because I'm going to order that. I'm going to order the pizzas with everything on it. And when it shows up and people make faces, turn their noses up, and start complaining, I'll say, pick off the stuff you don't like, put it to the side. Actually, you can put it in the donation bin, which happens to be my plate. So I'll take all of that, and then you can be left with a cheese pizza, but that's boring. Come on. Take all that stuff off you don't like and leave it right there. I'm good with it.
Wow, that sounds really good. I just came inside, and obviously my wife was making dinner because she's making stuffed shells. After the conversation of the everything pizza, I might have to run up there and get some because now I'm hungry.
Yeah, well, we're coming up on moments away. It's 7 o'clock now, so I can see why this, this hungry time discussion is making people sort of hanker for dinner. Well, good. I've already eaten my, Chef Boyardee spaghetti and meatballs. Yay! But, hey, so is the bachelor life.
W2BTK at the top of the hour.
Yeah, whiskey 3 after. So, all right. I guess I'll have to head up, get something to eat. I switched to inside, so hopefully I'm sounding okay in here. I played with a few of the settings. I don't know where they're at right now.
What kind of Chef Boyardee?
Spaghetti and meatballs.
Ooh, you didn't go for the beefaroni?
The only thing about Chef Boyardee, I like all the stuff they make, but it's the same sauce on everything. Like, they don't mix it up. Campbell's mixes it up. Actually, our supermarket over the winter got really happening. They had Jamaican jerk chicken. I had no idea that they have that. They had a whole bunch of other stuff, too. I'm going to get myself a Campbell's soup menu and then get in the face of the store manager and say, listen, you need to start ordering some of this other stuff. We're all getting tired of the pot roast and the hamburger and the chicken dumpling and the clam nonsense. Nobody eats that. Every time I go to the supermarket, the shelf has got a full stock of clam chowder. It's like, well, what does that tell you? No one's buying it. Ditch that. Put the Jamaican jerk chicken one, the spicy chicken stuff back on there. Come on. You probably couldn't keep it on the shelves. That's how popular it is. Do more of that. Yeah, I'm very impressed by Campbell's. I had no idea until somebody at the supermarket started experimenting with buying different things. Like, look at all of this. Who's been holding out on us here? This is amazing variety.
Connor says he's going to put up a 3-element Yagi for this frequency.
Shouldn't he get his 1-element Yagi tuned up first?
Well, yeah, that's what I recommended, but, I would like to see that.
Tell him he'll get more mileage by putting some ground screen, or at least a couple of half-wave radials under his dipole as a reflector. Now, that would be worthwhile.
I don't know about that.
Yupper.
What, to help with noise or something?
No, to provide less of an absorptive ground. Like if you have your dipole and it's just over dirt or rocks or sand or whatever, your typical yard. A lot of the signal that gets radiated down from a dipole just gets absorbed into the ground and it doesn't go anywhere. That's a total waste. If you have metal like a radial, if you have a continuous half wavelength long wire, the more the merrier, actually. But if you at least had one, which was under that dipole, that would present a very reflective element. And the thing is, what I think a lot of people aren't considering is that the ground is not like take it or leave it when it comes to radio waves. The ground looks like it's not there. It's opaque. It will absorb the signals after several feet, but it doesn't just absorb it right at the top of the soil, especially when it's dry, rocky or sandy. So if you end up putting a half-wave element on the ground, or you could bury it if it is more convenient, that will go a long way to putting more energy up into the sky than if it weren't there. Darn true, N1 BCG.
Well, my Elmer told me that really doesn't do that much, and it's like kind of a waste of time, and he's really antenna smart, but over here, it's kind of trippy how it worked out. My 3-inch solid copper drainage line that runs through my basement, which is literally exactly almost the same length as the antenna and spaced about a quarter wave from the antenna. I mean, literally, it's like directly parallel with it, directly underneath it, running through my basement. Maybe it does something, I don't know.
Well, I think it does, and there's a lot of research to show that things like that are effective. Well, I can tell you both Steve QIX and I are solid believers in that concept of a reflector on the ground, so yes, it's not just like me making stuff up.
Well, I know who I asked when I got antenna questions, and, he said that that's not really a thing.
I think it would be fair if he said it's not just that simple, but it's also not that complicated. I mean, yeah, there's the wavelength spacing that matters. And if your antenna is less than a quarter wavelength up, then, the phase relationship is going to matter. But the thing is look at it this way. If you don't do that, 100% of the signal that gets radiated straight down from a dipole, and that's an unfortunate thing about a dipole, it puts just as much energy straight down into the ground as it does up into the ionosphere. So it's not very efficient that way. But if you had something to make the ground less absorbing and more reflective, you can't go wrong. It's impossible to go wrong. You're just simply always, no matter what, by having more metal there, more of a reflective surface, you will put more energy into the ionosphere than if there was nothing under the antenna. I mean, it's physics.
Well, I don't know. But doesn't that work with, like, unbalanced antennas? And then what about balanced antennas?
That is for a balanced antenna, for a dipole.
So what, you're just making like a 2-element that points at the sky?
Exactly. But the only time... Now, okay, good. Now that you said that, now we're starting to get lined up here. Now, consider this. If you have an antenna that's exactly a quarter wavelength above the ground, and then you have the half-wave wire, we'll call it, sitting on the ground, that's now equivalent to a 2-element Yagi pointed straight up. But consider the phase relationship. If the signal travels a quarter wavelength down to the ground, gets re-reflected by that half wavelength wire and comes back up again, by the time it hits that antenna, it's going to be 180 degrees out of phase, right? Quarter wave down, quarter wave back up again, and this is straight up. And it will completely cancel that signal, and that's what you want. What you don't need from a dipole is to have radiation directly straight up, because that's like ultra nevus, and that doesn't do any good. But what you end up with is like a cardioid pattern, where when you start to go from straight up and then slowly go downwards, so let's say straight up is 0 degrees, as you start going down towards the horizon, which we'll call 90 degrees, that cardioid pattern, the signals start to sum. So they're 100% canceled at straight up. And then as you come down, they start to add together. You get an additive function of those waves. So, and the lower the angle of the closer you are to the horizon, the more they become in phase. So it's something to consider.
20 years ago, I did that with a reflector under my ZEP. I had that up at 60 feet. I had a reflector at like 25 or 30. It was smoking.
Well, I mean, every directional AM radio station works on the same principle, except they use vertical towers. In this particular case, you've got a driven element and a reflector, and the phase relationship between the two, which by the way is determined by the distance, will determine what the pattern's going to look like. But no matter how you cut it, straight up doesn't do any good with a dipole. So, yupper, definitely is better to have that way
KB3WFV.
Hey, Brian and Clark. Yeah, I don't know about all that. It might help with like noise and stuff, but I don't know about that. Hey, Brian.
Hey, Billy. Hey, Clark. How you guys doing?
Excellent. I got pizza.
Hey, I'm out of here, fellas. W2E&I. Good dinner call. I'll see y'all later.
All right, have a good evening. Enjoy dinner.
Hello, Bob. See you, Bob.
Brian, you stepped on Bob and now he's gone.
Oh, sorry. I got wicked static crashes down here. Speaking of which, is Dave W308 still here? I left him hanging some time ago because I got a phone call. Nope, I don't hear him. All right. What's going on?
I hear a WA2 like way out there, a little low though, like on the verge of painful.
Hi, George.
I mean, this is not the night to get on radio. You know what I mean? These conditions suck, but I'm a glutton for punishment. Hey, Clark, another interesting point about all of that, ground radio under your dipole thing. Well, how does it know that it's a reflector and not a director,
Doesn't need to do any thinking at all. The wave, the energy is radiated from your dipole, and it goes off in all directions, meaning straight up through all the way straight down. And the energy which is imposed on that half-wave element, then it either gets dissipated or it gets reflected back up. And the power that gets reflected back up again is what's either going to create a sum or difference with the wave that's being radiated from your antenna. But since it's because it's in the near field, there's so much energy there, it's substantial, and so it really will contribute. But the lousier your ground is, like the drier, the rockier, the sandier your soil is under your antenna, the more this will help.
So does tuning change with the wire on the ground?
It can, because what'll happen is the dipole will see it as creating more coupling. It'll see it almost like there's a load there. But that's fine, because if it does change, now you know that it's going to have an impact, and a positive one. Hi.
Okay. I still don't see how it knows whether it's a reflector or a director. Couldn't that hurt your signal?
No, because no matter what, reflectors and directors, the only thing that differentiates those two function-wise is their distance from the driven element. So, but no matter what they are, directors are basically in the direction that you want the signal to go to, and reflectors are behind it, on the opposite side of the driven element. But they all serve the same function. They end up, an electrical field is imposed on them by the driven element, and then the wave that's on there now gets re-radiated. So, I think it's worth looking into. It's a very interesting science, and you can get, you can actually do a lot with a dipole with the radials underneath it that you wouldn't normally get, or you wouldn't normally be able to do without them.
Well, so changing the length of that wire on the ground would, it doesn't really matter?
Yeah, it does, because you've got to take into account that the wire in the ground, and my apologies to folks who are not interested in this, the wire in the ground is going to be subjected to several things. Number one, the length of it is going to be determined by frequency, so it's not like, unless you filled your yard with wire and made the whole ground system underneath it a reflector, which is good, but it takes a lot of wire to do. If it's going to be a certain length, then that length is going to be determined by the frequency that you want it to operate on. The phase relationship will change as the frequency changes, because the wavelength between your antenna and that wire on the ground will change. So therefore, the reflected wavelength, the reflected wave from that wire in the ground will change. So therefore, the phase relationship will change, and you've got what the hell? No, I can't think of it. The speed at which a radio wave will travel on that, like it's slower. Velocity factor, that's what he's struggling to remember the term. The velocity factor needs to be taken into account, because you've got a wire now that's sitting on or within the earth. So now you've got capacitive effects, you've got velocity factor. So yeah, there's a few things to take into account. But still, it's well worth experimenting with.
Well, all right. I guess everything that I've learned about Yagis is weird. So what's the difference between a reflector on the ground and one on a 3-element Yagi, which is 5% longer than resonance?
The reflector on a Yagi that's in the air is considered pretty much in free space. There's no capacitive coupling with anything else, like the ground. All there is the driven element that it sees.
Maybe.
Oh.
And you see up. But anyway.
Okay, N1 BCG. This is all very interesting, isn't it?
W2BTK.
Clark, you know who has actual experience with what you're talking about?
Steve, QIX.
Yep, with his tower at 130 feet, and they put radios out underneath of it.
I'm just confused, Clark. How do you know how long this wire on the ground has to be?
Well, you can start with a half wavelength. If you want to get fussy with it, then you can do actual measurements. You could actually put a field strength meter out God, that would be very interesting. You could measure the current imposed on the wire. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. And by the way, Brian, in the case of Steve, his antenna's 90 feet up, or it was. I think he said it was 90 feet up at Townsend. And so if you figure that, let's look at that distance. So 60 feet, just use even numbers, is a half wavelength. So his is 90. So by the time the signal hits that wire, he's got several. I don't think he has just one wire in the ground. By the time it hits that wire and reflects back up again, the signal will not have traveled a half wavelength. Actually, it'll have traveled a what is it? 90 and 90 is 180. It will have traveled a full wavelength.
I don't know, man. I don't know how well all this crap works, really. I think that it's all just maybe a cover-up for, somebody running way, way, way a lot of power.
And Brian, I think you said my math was off. You're correct.
I'm just trying to track with it, that's all. So, a half-range dipole is 260-foot wire. Were you referring to just one half of the dipole, or the whole length of the dipole?
No, the whole length of the dipole. So it would be, it would be 120 feet for the half wavelength.
It's an interesting discussion. I guess down here the soil conductivity is, well, it's moist all the time, wet all the time.
Well, the FCC issued a map. Actually, this was done many years ago, but there was the United States was surveyed for soil conductivity, and the whole East Coast is pretty abysmal. This is what what I keep talking about. And AM stations, the AM broadcast stations, their efficiency of their antennas relies heavily on the ground conductivity near their antenna or in their service area. And I think the highest on the scale on Earth, on the ground, is somewhere around 4. And that might be in Oklahoma or somewhere out west. I don't know why it's so high there. And that's considered high, 4, because around here it's 0.5. And 0.5 in Florida, duh, because, it's all sandy and stuff like that. Do you know? And for those who have heard my little spiel, that. So the United States has a range of soil conductivity from 0.5 to about 4, maybe 5. You know what it is for salt water? 0.5 to 5 for regular ground. Salt water is, on that same scale, 5,000. Yes, salt water comes in on the ground conductivity scale of 5,000. So now you know why people love operating near the water.
And I was well aware of ground conductivity maps. But when I had a memory to remember things. And I forget. I looked at mine or this area. I don't know what you just said, whether it was average or not, but it makes a huge difference. Teaching these young kids a few things there. Will you, Clark? Keep going. You're sounding good, and you've got everything covered. But I'm going to get out of here. WA1STH recliner remote.
Yeah, see, Steve knows all this stuff.
All right, have a good night. Yeah, I'm sure that a search online for ground conductivity map United States will yield exactly what I'm talking about, because it's well published.
Where, Clark? I would really like to look that stuff up. Can you cite me something?
I'm sure I want to tell you all about that. hope we're forgetting more than
Hey, Clark.
what you learned 2 weeks ago. You're going to relearn 50%. So, anyway, have a good night there, Joe. I'll use the term loosely, of course.
Hey, Clark, you said this stuff is all well published. Like, can you cite something? Because I would really like to read about this somewhere where it's been published.
All right, well, if you want to see the ground conductivity map, you can do what I just did and do a search for, well, ground conductivity map. And it'll take you to the FCC website. The only thing is my estimates of ground conductivity are way off, because I'm seeing stuff. If I look in Oklahoma, there's stuff there which is in the range of 30. So that whole business about 5 being a lot, obviously, I haven't looked at this map in a while now. So Oklahoma, most of Oklahoma is 30, and then, like I said, here it's 1. Okay, so Long Island, right off the Connecticut coast, it's 0.5. But here, in Connecticut, it's 1. And Brian, you're where you are, it's 4. So you actually have a more beach than we do. And actually, in Florida, it's 2 through a lot of the central part. And then the southern part is 8. That's pretty impressive. Probably because of a high water table. But yeah, it's lousy here. I'm so proud.
No, Clark, I want to see something that's published about the reflector on the ground below a dipole. I would like to read something that's been published where it backs this up, where it says that this works.
Well, I'm sure you can find it. I don't mind looking around for you if you need me to send you links. But it's sequitur for several reasons. Number one, it's partly the principles why a beverage antenna works. And beverage antennas are close to the ground. And someone would say, how the hell does that work? Well, they work fabulously. And maybe that's where you were thinking from a low noise standpoint, but that's not it. I'm talking about transmission efficiency. Number two, there have been people who have experimented with antennas, transmitting antennas that have been laid out on the ground, and they work. And they've published their findings on this, concluded that the Earth is not just an abyss for radio signals. They are, when it comes to radio signals, soil is like murky water. You can see your hand, like if you were diving in silty, muddy water and stuff, you can see your hand right in front of your face. But if you move your hand slowly, further away, the further things are, the harder they are to see. And that's the same thing with radio signals and the ground. The radio signals will go into the dirt just fine if it doesn't have to go in that far. But after it goes in, a bit more, then it ends up being very problematic, because now the radio waves get diffused and they get absorbed, by the soil and the rocks or whatever, roots of trees, whatever. So, there are several sciences and several studies that when you combine them, this whole thing about putting elements for a dipole underneath should just make sense.
No, hold on, Clark. Now you're screwing me up, because I seriously thought a beverage antenna was a traveling wave antenna. And I really, really thought that. But no, I would like you to find something for me, maybe written by like an electrical engineer or something, that talks about this reflector on the ground thing below a dipole, because I have searched for it and I can't find anything. So if you could and send it to me, I would be very, very appreciative. W2BTK.
Well, every AM broadcast antenna system for radio station has radials that are in the ground, and they obviously do something. So it's very hard for me to say, you know what, you're right, this just doesn't make any sense, because for my whole adult life, since I was in my early 20s, I've been very familiar with ground systems for AM broadcast stations and how they work. There's very little that's different about this, except in this particular case, the element that's creating the energy in those wires in the ground is coming from a dipole, which is directly above it.
Yeah, but the vertical is a completely different antenna than a dipole. Radials on a vertical are... It's not the same thing. It's an unbalanced antenna, and it needs that counterpoise. We're talking about a dipole in the air, balanced antenna with the wire underneath it on the ground. And there's, I'm sorry, but it's not the same thing. And there's zero documentation on it that it works. Nobody's written anything about it. Or, it seems like... I seriously think that it's just a thing that hams made up when they want to run like 5, 6, 7 times legal limit and, not draw attention to that. Seriously, W2BTK.
At some point, I need to decide when it's time to give up, and I'm getting close to that.
Well, just find me something written by someone like an electrical engineer that talks about this phenomenon and how it works and all that stuff. I would really appreciate it. Seriously.
Maybe we should both look.
I told you I have. There's nothing. You can find all sorts of stuff about radials under a vertical, but as far as like a balanced dipole up in the air with a ground wire underneath it, there's nothing. It's just a cover-up for running, 20, 30, 40,000 watts. Anyway, next time.
Search for ground radial under dipole, and it came up with several pages from Google. So I don't know. I can send these all to you, but I feel like it would be a waste of time.
No, but are they written by like electrical engineers or anybody like official?
The other night, I was reading a 1940s CQ magazine and found an article about placing radials under a dipole antenna. The article claimed that if you live in areas of the country that had poor soil conductivity, this would really help the antenna function. After this, I read a more recent article in another book. It was true and that it was worthwhile. Hold on a second, my screen just went blank. I asked around a bit, and the consensus was that it would help. It would help shoot more signal into the directions that you want it to go, and it would assist in DX contacts. The next person says, connect the ground radials to anything. Okay, that was my argument. I think ground wires under a dipole improve ground reflections just the way wet terrain would under any antenna. You can read all this stuff yourself, but these guys are saying the exact same thing that I just did.
Yeah, but are they talking about like, how does length of the wire on the ground affect tuning, and also, like how does it how do you know how does it know if it's a reflector or acting like a director or what? Like it doesn't make sense.
You know what's amazing? One of the people writing in here you're getting close to describing a Nevis antenna. Holy cow. Apparently to the same thread. That's so funny. When is this from? This is from years ago. Oh my God, this is from 10 years ago.
Well, I'm looking for something like maybe an IEEE publication or some kind of like real engineering publication, not QST, not amateurs, like actual engineers talking about this, because they don't.
Anyone want to change topics? N1 BCG.
I win. Yeah, let's change.
You're right, you win. Hey, Brian, what's going on? Great. See, that's what happens with these discussions.
Look, we needed to have this talk. You know, it's lightning crashes, it's crappy conditions. It's not us. It's just the conditions. Where's Connor? And yeah, sorry that we ran all the non-technical people off of ham radio. It's a damn shame. We could talk about I don't know, what did I buy recently? I bought a bunch of stuff for my computer. We could talk about that. I haven't bought much ham radio stuff though.
Alright, I'm going to research this because WAJI, who happens to do some very in-depth engineering articles, has written about it. So let me read this and I'll send it to you. N1 BCG.
That would be good. I would appreciate that. You know, I'm the guy set up in the park with my little booth that says that putting a ground wire underneath your dipole doesn't work. Change my mind. And that's your job tonight. But yeah, I'm not going to apologize for having a technical discussion on 75 meter AM that, chased a bunch of people off, because I think we need more technical discussions. And if people are bored by that, then, whatever. But I personally feel like this is fine.
All right, I'm going to research this. I'll catch you later.
W2 BTK. Maybe we should talk about audio settings or something. Then I'm pretty sure everybody would come out of the woodwork. I heard somebody in there, but the modulation wasn't making it above the lightning crashes here. No, don't be sorry. I couldn't hear you. Try again. Yeah, I'm not able to copy. The static crashes are getting really, really wicked. I think I heard you say the word antenna.
Yeah, buy a copy.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. It's the crashes are just too much. You got a good signal. It's just the crashes are jumping up almost as strong as your carrier, so I'm not able to demodulate you really at all.
Not a problem.
I'm sorry, man. It's summertime. I mean, it's probably gonna be the norm from now until it starts getting cold. W2BTK.
Charlie Kilo Whiskey Fox Lima.
I got Kilo something Whiskey Foxtrot Lima. I heard that. WFL. Yeah, it's really rough, man. I might pack it in for the night. This is the conditions are horrible right now. But I got your suffix Whiskey Foxtrot Lima. Well, guys, I tried, man. The static is just crazy tonight. These conditions are absolutely horrible, and I guess I'm gonna go do something else. The band is borderline unusable right now. Got really, really bad static crashes. I mean, as you can see in here, it's covering everybody up. Clark was doing okay, but you know, he's one of the biggest signals on the band. Anyway, I tried, guys. I gave it my best shot, but it's a decent technical discussion, I think, between me and Clark, even if I annoyed Clark or made him mad or whatever. But yep. Look at that. Oh my god. And it's only going to get worse. So maybe I'll hang in there for like another 10 minutes or so and see if anybody pops in here, but I'm not I'm not really counting on that. And just fair warning, I'm going to turn the volume up slowly, guys. So you're listening, you know, make your adjustment. I'm going to start bringing it up now. I don't want to blow anyone's ears. Alright, that should, I'm sorry about that. I forgot to set my levels before I got on here, so hopefully that fade was slow enough that it didn't startle anyone or blow anything out. So I'm gonna hang here for like 10 minutes and listen to the crashes, see if anyone gets on. And if not, we'll call it a night and say that we tried, so. Looks like some people are starting to come into the chat. I was just about to shut it down. Everybody kind of got off the air. The lightning crashes are just stupid tonight. It's really, really, really bad conditions. So. Looks like there's a signal on 3880. That's usually the guys down in the Midwest. down south. Most people are probably not going to get on the air tonight. This is an insane amount of lightning crashes. Well, I saw a couple of carriers in there. Is anybody hearing me over this lightning? W2BTK. And I'm only running about 50 watts tonight. If I turn on the amp, people will probably hear me fine, but it'll be one way, you know, because I'm not hearing anybody. Look at how much those lightning crashes are jumping up on the pan adapter. I mean, it's literally swallowing almost most of the stuff that's on the band. And that's with 10 dB of attenuation in. Here, watch this. That's what it's really doing. Look at that. God, it's swallowing everybody alive. Like, look at that signal I have my mouse right next to. When the crashes jump, it literally swallows it. And I mean, these are not weak signals that I'm receiving. It's just that the lightning is that bad. Yeah, look at those SNR numbers, like 14, 15 dB. Usually these guys come in 50, 60 dB SNR. Yeah, it's bad, Connor. But this is what happens in the summertime on 75 meters. It's just crazy, crazy, crazy lightning crashes. I mean, you guys see my normal noise level. And you see, you know, how the signals come in. This is an insane amount of noise. No point in turning the amp on. They'll hear me, I won't hear them. Geez, 40 meters is getting taken out too. This storm is something else. I mean, it was ripping over here. The lightning and thunder was shaking my whole house last night. It was pretty bad. I know Perry, you hear him out here, MMR. He lost an antenna last night. His 10-meter Yagi got ripped down and folded up like a pretzel. I mean, yeah, I bet 160 is even worse. Let's look. Jesus, you see these, hold on. I gotta move this, gotta move my camera, but look, you see, look at those signals. The lightning crashes are literally swallowing them whole. There's no way you're going to communicate through that. Oh, Radio China is coming in. There's nobody on 7290. Connor's right. Propagation kind of sucks on 40. Man, it's just not a good night for ham radio, guys. You could listen to CRI.
我的骨架，他的内心丰富，生活却极其简单。他用几十年的努力，完成了对内心的圆满，到远最诗意的致敬。他的全名
de su comité olímpico, o sea que ellos boicotearon el juego, pero fueron y son mucho más de lo que habían dicho al principio.
And we will be tracking a few towers working their way through the area tonight. Could even have a heavier thunderstorm in some places. Right now, all the activity confined to northwest Jersey.
That's the broadcast band isn't doing that bad.
It looks like probably in the next...
I take that back. Wow, look at that.
We'll start to see it closing in closer to the city in terms of...
The crashes are a little more sparse, but geez, you saw that one just take out the broadcast station.
Day with an afternoon or evening shower. Storm, the high 80.
Yeah, all right, Connor. I'm probably going to pack it in myself pretty soon.
Moving into
Let's see.
Saturday, periods of clouds.
Go work some Americans from your remote down in Haiti. Whoa, nice on 20. Well, have fun, Connor. See, that's Connor. You know, that kid, he's 18 years old. He's like a really fine business ham operator. He wins contests. Like, he's won contests before. A very accomplished ham. Only 18. So go have fun, Connor.
WCBS News time is 7:50.
I am going to...
The governor says the organizers of...
I'm going to pack it in, guys. This is not much I can do. Amateur radio is... has been taken out by lightning, and I'm sorry for that, but we'll try again tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Sorry for the lightning crash punishment, but yeah, Giant, I mean, there's not much I can do, man. It's nobody's going to be getting on the air with all this crap. But hey, such is summertime on the low bands, so... Not much I can do, guys. So thanks again for tuning in. Follow me if you like the stream. You'll get notifications. And I appreciate you guys stopping by. We'll see you next time. Peace out.